we have almost 600 contributors, which is an order of magnitude, bigger than our team and stuff like that. Yeah, I am the co-founder, co-CEO of Forum. We build open source community software, and we started with Dev, which itself started with a Twitter account called The Practical Dev. And I've been working on this for the better half of, a little over half a decade with the project in some capacity. We became a company in 2017. And last year, we decided that the project is called Forum, even though we've been working on the code base for years as just the thing that powers dev. And yeah, we want to build around this idea of open source community with an async first dynamic, helping people keep up with content and, as opposed to a chat-based system. And mostly we want to help folks, foster and scale community online and to have it done in the most open and transparent way possible. We didn't necessarily want that to be the direction. We really didn't want to own the whole thing. And so we started working towards making the form factor open source. And so anyone can host something that is going to have a similar form factor, a lot of the same features, be able to reuse all the moderation features. You don't have to re-implement the capacity to block a user you're not comfortable with. You don't have to re-implement all this work we put into it. And that's just the nature of open source. We want to be sharing, and we really feel like within this form factor, online community, social media, the nature of the whole thing being open source in order to provide transparency is itself pretty powerful. We love the idea that the more success Forum has, the more time is spent on a platform that is open to scrutiny, where, if we push new functionality to the core code base, everyone's going to see it. And, within the nature of like this space and the broader implications for society, we just really feel like it's a good thing to be working on something together in the open and to help solve problems.
Excellent. And so if I understand this correctly, so Code Newbies forum is completely different from Dev. And so the posts that are here in Code Newbies post, they don't show up in the Dev post?
Yep, they're completely different. Folks can cross post, and we want to make it, easy for people to be able to maybe distribute one post to multiple communities if they want to. Like, it's currently technically possible via APIs and stuff. Folks have been starting to build some pretty interesting third-party software to help tie things together. And you right now have a browser extension installed that it acts in a similar way. So this is a third-party browser extension. Like, we created it, but anyone could create something similar. There's no authorization to create something that helps tie the communities together. But this is an example. It's just it's a nav bar that just shows up next to a forum, and you just added the code newbie to your list of forums. And so now you just have this whenever you get to a forum, you have navigation to other forums, except no forum knows what other forums you're a part of. It really just helps you navigate the independent web. Technically speaking, this is an iframe, so it's hidden from the rest of the page. So even if a forum wanted to find out what's in there, there's just not that. There's a layer of security there.
Yeah.
So long story short, people can cross post between Dev and Code Newbie at the same time, but they are totally independent. The tools that tie them together are, that's the stuff that can help tie together the ecosystem, but there's no central authority on what a post is. Everything exists in a database, and we care about compatibility, and we care about moderation within the overall ecosystem. We're not going to promote a forum that we feel like is not being effectively moderated or serving the broader community context, but we also don't have the power to unilaterally decide what effective moderation is. So there's a matter of diplomacy that's built in here that we think is, inherently a lot healthier than top-down rule. and we're just sort of like excited to invent our way into new ideas within this, like within the ecosystem.
Okay, excellent. So I guess my first question is, if I'm curious if I wanted to set up my own forum, and we chat about this, like OpenSauce.pizza is my personal project. What are the first steps for me setting up my own forum? If I wanted to get this, well, get it on the iframe eventually, but just basically set up my forum. Is there like a fork or a clone process?
Um, so we have a so right now you wouldn't fork or clone. It's the same code base for everything. So you're not going to take this and change anything. All changes can happen within the code itself. So you're going to take this exact same code. You don't have to make any changes to the code, and you're going to run it in a cloud environment or on your own machine if you want. Our instructions for doing so effectively are not yet public. So that's kind of
Okay.
what we're people have done that. So like forem.dev was first built on Heroku, and the process of hosting on Heroku is public. I think it's in our docs, but it's really not our designated place. We want to promote a little bit closer to the metal containerized deployments of Forum, and we're going to be launching that like within a couple weeks. So if you're
Okay,
listening to
excellent.
this and you're excited, I'd say like wait around. We have it mostly documented. I think as far as I know, I think we're waiting on one dependency to just hit a new version because we don't want to launch like right before a core dependency. We know it's about to get a new major version, so we're sort of just playing the waiting game a little bit on that. But once that launches, basically our full instructions, you're going to be able to take a containerized version of Forum, plop it into, say, DigitalOcean. It's going to take, maybe a gig of memory, some compute. Hopefully we can get it inside one of the smaller like compute containers, available.
Yeah.
And you basically take that and you run an Ansible command. Basically you take a script we provide you. You go to Azure or DigitalOcean or AWS or whatever the best environment for you is. We're not going to launch with support for every cloud right away, but you can also launch it in your in your closet if you really want to. It's open source software. It runs anywhere.
Yeah.
But basically, yeah, you take the container, you put it in the cloud, and it mostly just works if you follow the instructions. And with the Code Newbie idea and with everything we're trying to push here, like I'm really excited for folks who want to play around with Forum to actually get familiar with some new sort of sysadmin work that's like not too heavy duty. You don't need to go to school on system administration in order to host a forum, but you kind of have to install a couple command line tools and get going with that. And it's going to be pretty interesting because we want Forum to be for everyone, not just developers. So over time, we're going to be trying to simplify the tooling, provide our own hosting, which we already do to some extent, but not at a large scale. And we hope that we usher in a new space for independent community that competes on user experience and form factor with these $500 billion companies that whose business is really built around absolute consumption. And with everyone who gets to use this, contribute back, improve the functionality, and really invest in the ecosystem, normalize the idea that if you're going to invite someone onto your community, you're not telling them about a Facebook group, you're telling them about your forum. You're going to give them a URL that you registered. And and so like starting in a couple of weeks, that's going to be a lot more accessible for anyone who, if you've heard of DigitalOcean, you probably have the skills to launch a forum. It's pretty simple. If you're that, like, if you know what this service is,
Yeah.
you probably can follow our instructions and get it up and running pretty quickly with no coding skills necessarily. But then if you want to contribute back, the whole thing is open source. And the purpose
Yeah.
of being open source is not necessarily just so everyone can contribute back, but it's to provide transparency, to provide, scrutiny, and to give us, like the best layer of communication we possibly can with everybody who's using it.
What about the? I'm curious, and maybe I don't know if you've thought about this, but I know y'all are launching a sort of a nice digital ocean, perhaps deployment path. What about updates? So as dev figures out new features, like y'all added form as a or forms and listings, and you also had like add videos as well as another option that I've seen in the last couple of years.
Yep.
If if dev has new features or code newbies has new features, like how do you have updates? There's going to be like a plugin infrastructure.
So the core functionality is going to keep getting updates pretty consistently. We're going to have tag releases, expect folks to uh, take the new code and update their forums pretty regularly. The the notion of updating something that's live on the internet has a lot of, we need to maintain compatibility, maintain everything we like. The whole kind of purpose of collecting on a project is to continue to benefit from ongoing work. And we will be shrinking what the core project is, and there will be some plugin marketplace ideas going forward. But mostly, like core improvements to the core product are going to be shipped with the core product. So you're going to have to buy into something that's going to change over time, gain new features, and we have to be respectful of the community in that sense. So like, if you're going to install and host a forum, you're going to have to know that like generally we're working collectively to keep the ecosystem healthy, and that doesn't necessarily mean like a guarantee that this view will never look a little different. There has to be this sort of collective buy-in that you're not hosting, you know, you're not hosting a website that's going to like always have your full control over the look and feel in every capacity. We're going to offer, ample ways to customize, but you're sort of buying into like this shared philosophy of ongoing development. And we don't want to be caught in this situation where we feel scared to update it because too many people are too bought into like a certain style. So that's about us, maintaining a pulse with the community, and then just being an open source project, which if we ever like ship something that enough people were unhappy with, they could fork and actually take the project in their own way, which is something we don't want to have happen. But we're, we're open to the idea that this whole thing is about community and trust and ongoing relationships, and something we're going to have to keep leaning into. But I feel like we've gained a decent amount of goodwill over the years, just the fact that we've wanted to take this approach. In the future, like the way forum is looked after could evolve over time. Like right now it's just run by the forum company, and there could be shifts in how things are done. But we're just excited that, you're going to have to keep getting updates. And if you stop updating your forum, it's maybe okay for you, but it might mean you have a less secure version. You're not going to get new patches or anything like that. And, over time, we'll probably like stop linking to you as often if you're not maintaining compatibility with the latest features and things like that. But it's kind of just like the open web. If you stopped updating your blog 10 years ago, Google's going to probably stop linking to you because you won't have mobile compatibility and things like that. So we see it as sort of like an interesting evolution on how the web can work together itself.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense too as well. And I'm sure there's ways you could sort of get automation and updates.
Oh yeah.
I run a script for the GitHub API that it has a sort of upstream that there's a GitHub app that just sends me updates as PRs when some breaking changes happen, and it helps me because like it's hard to keep tabs on stuff, especially if I have a busy month or I take a month off because I have a kid or something
Yeah.
like that. So it's nice to get those things automated, and but also
Oh,
sounds exciting though to be able part of something bigger and growing community with the support of the Forum company.
oh yeah, and the process of hosting a forum is just running some scripts. So like you're needing to type in the keys is not necessarily like these are computers.
Yeah, yeah.
Automation is part of the game, and I'm not sure like what that next step is necessarily. We're sort of taking baby steps towards getting the infrastructure right, but the the long term is that whatever responsibilities require you to be in the loop and to make the updates and things like that, we're going to provide that. And we actually really kind of want to create a culture where folks care about the updates and keep up with the software early on. While so many of our core users are developers, we actually kind of want to keep that like that dialogue open and stuff like that. We're not, rushing to make this just like a pure one-click solution with no variability. Like we want folks to invent new ways to host it effectively. The core code base has to be, you need to maintain compatibility from a user experience perspective, but we expect innovation to come from folks who are hosting this. And just like how we took, years to sort of shift from just doing dev to like really starting to get forum to be a real thing. As long as we can continue to help anybody who's adopting it succeed dramatically, we're not gonna like take the shortcuts to where we're going, because it's going to be a discovery process.
Okay, cool. Uh, I have a quick question. I don't know if you have the answer to it, but the
Yep.
I noticed the license
Mhm.
AGPL, which I think it's the Apache license. Uh, any reasons? Actually, no, I'm completely off. I've actually never seen this license before.
Yeah. So this is the GPL, which is a copyleft license, and the Pharaoh moderation is sort of like an update for server-based software that you might host like in the cloud or
Yeah,
whatever. So the base of the GPL is that it is copyleft, which means that it's actually it's a more restrictive license than say MIT,
yeah,
and you're not allowed to take this code and to modify it and make that modification closed source.
got it.
So, which is, like people are going to debate on like the values of different licenses and stuff. But we really feel like if we're putting this out there, we want to promote the ongoing longevity of the open source nature. And being social media software, we really want to encourage transparency at every layer. And it's not like it's literally impossible to, run certain parts of the like certain things might happen that like are not running transparently, because there's like there's a console you can open up and interact with the database and things like that. It's not impossible, but we really feel like if the core code base can maintain like just a real strong open source thing going on, that it's just good for social media period, where like we can say like, hey, if if the community you're a part of is operating on the forum as licensed, you're going to be able to look under the hood and see what's going on. Like you're going to know is a what is affecting you. There's going to be like a bit of lack of context, because like you won't see the entire data context, like but you're going to get as much transparency as possible. And over time, we just want to keep leaning into this like privacy, transparency, and the license choice was really deliberate in that sense.
Gotcha. That makes a lot of sense too, as well, in the context of social media and the current environment of, I guess, social media and data and advertisements and stuff like that. So, thanks for going down that rabbit hole with us, because I was not aware of that license, but it's got me questioning some of the projects I'm working on if I should leverage a different license besides MIT.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of like the everything gets more complicated the more you try to get into like anything GPL and stuff. And we know there's like a ton of debate around this sort of what all of this stuff. But we felt like this was a decent choice for us, and we also we asked that folks sign a contributor agreement when they're contributing, such which allows us to potentially, if we ever needed to go in a different direction with the license, we could, if we can go in a different direction, and folks kind of need to know that like that it's like it's possible for the license to change over time, but we're pretty pretty encouraged by the idea that just being a good copyleft open source thing contributes a lot to like the nature of open source in this space. And you know, we've so normalized the idea of open source operating systems because of licenses like this. And the I'm no purist in terms of some of my, you know, free and open source opinions. Like I just want to do what's best for the overall social good of the code we're running. But as a component of that, I think the being thoughtful about the licenses goes a long way.
Okay, cool. And then since we're down this rabbit hole, I wanted to ask too about how the structure of the team is working right now. Are you getting a lot of outside contributions, or I know you're weeks away from shipping a sort of public one-click deployable. I don't know if it's one click. I don't want to speak for your product, but an easy deployed solution. So are you getting a lot of contributions outside of the Form team or the company itself?
So yeah, I mean, we've had just about 600 different contributors into the code base. So way more than the team itself. But lately, as we march towards some of these milestones, it has been like a real focus on like our team just getting to a certain point, and we get a ton of great contributions from just folks who are stopping by, and we're really supportive, really trying to let folks contribute like to things they can contribute to effectively. We currently have 76 issues marked ready for dev, which means that we feel like, hey, there's enough context here that people can contribute. But being like trying to, maintain velocity, be a small enough team, like we're pretty pragmatic about this. We feel like the approach we take in the long run is going to always sort of ebb and flow between like opportunities when we can like really, really work collaboratively with a bunch of folks, and times where like we just have to hunker down and get something out the door. And it's always sort of a give and take, and we need to sort of learn to be really good at this stuff. And we try not to be like too all or nothing in terms of like what open source is for and stuff. And but we really feel like our best work is in the open, and over time we really want to keep leaning in on this. We have a forum called forem.dev, which is where we have more open-ended discussions where like we'll kind of talk about the nature of the forum project, and we anticipate that being a little bit more active once we actually launch with the like really full, like easily hostable version for outsiders. But we chose this because it sort of co-located questions and questions for the product and nature of what we're doing with our announcements of our changelog and our contributions and stuff like that. So like locating discussions right alongside blog posts like was a form factor we want to keep leaning in on with dev and with everything else we're doing, and we enjoy using forum for these purposes. And so we have almost 600 contributors, which is an order of magnitude bigger than our team and stuff like that. So it's been a community effort, but I think like as we evolve, there's going to be that much more opportunity once things really stabilize for people to keep contributing. We want to make hosting forums as cheap as possible. So that's going to mean like efficient queries, making reducing memory, like just
Yeah.
a lot of work into the core code base. And you don't always need like context into our entire product roadmap in order to like contribute to this, the efficiency of the product, the performance, and the code quality and stuff. So we have a lot of these features that are marked ready for dev, but anything that's a refactor, an improvement, like is a huge part of like the ongoing life of the project.
Yeah, and I noticed in the the last commits too as well, and you made alluded to this as well. Remove Elasticsearch. So is that part of the trying to keep it efficient and cheap for folks to go and ship this in a couple weeks for themselves?
Yeah, so Elastic is a big dependency, and removing it actually made our the search on platform search a little worse,
Okay.
which was as a trade-off, and we want to go back and improve that from there. But the people can there's lots of opportunities to use Google and search engines to access a forum. It's going to be an ongoing discovery of just like what fits inside a forum versus what external tools can use to kind of work with forum. But we want to shrink that nucleus, and Elastic was a dependency we had. Of course, it is open source. It's not like it was stopping us from running good open source software, but it was just a really expensive dependency, and takes over a gig just to stand up an instance of Elasticsearch. It adds complexity in the infrastructure, and removing it in favor of Postgres search has just been really cool to see. Like we want to keep leaning in on Postgres as like the core technology. Really, like anything can evolve about the code base, the dependencies and stuff, and we really want to try and reduce dependencies and see what we can get out of Postgres. And there might be a future where the entire code base is rewritten into a tiny binary that runs a forum. It still needs Postgres to like store the database. Right now, that's not anywhere near where we are. We're a Rails app. It makes it makes it so that people know how to contribute. There's a lot of conventions here that I think we're at a good happy medium between like trying to reduce dependencies, like shrink down the form factor, and but also like keep the application like easy and accessible, and like allow us to keep developing features at a good pace. So that's sort of where we are. The removal of Elasticsearch for the folks who worked on our team, it was really great work to get that done, and the core experience is the exact same as it used to be. Some of the features got regressed a little bit, but we didn't have like the perfect on-site search before anyway. Like no apps really seem to.
Yeah.
But it's always going to be a bit of a give and take and stuff. And Elastic actually had replaced Algolia, which was a prior thing we used for search, which is totally closed source. So when we decided this is the path we want, first we experimented with moving from Algolia to Elastic, and now all the dependencies are at least open source. And then we sort of looked at how much it's going to cost to run a forum, and we really want to shrink that down and make it accessible as possible. So we decided that removing Elastic is a step along the journey, and any new forum is going to take a long time before they would need something like super advanced search anyway.
Yeah.
So it's all just part of the journey, and we feel like this is all going to be like really cool once we expand the number of forums in the universe, and just start accelerating what it can be.
Cool. Cool. And I also want to make note that the chat has a question, but also Ethan J.
Mhm.
Hill just wanted to mention that Dev is an awesome platform. Um, and I love that y'all are giving access to something like, well, the infrastructure of what Dev is, and being able to get other people and have their communities running on a similar platform or similar structure. Set up a forum eventually for this little project I've been working on. And most folks in the chat already know about this project, so I'll spare the introduction, but it's called Open Source, and it just helps you find your next open source contribution. These are
Mhm.
all the repos that I'm sort of tracking, and I can have like a little dashboard. So Gatsby, um, I can basically track my contributions here. We've got something we're working on where we're going to recommend contributions. But what I love about Dev is at the moment, if I go into my dashboard, I've got a bunch of open source posts that sort of showcase like we were talking about good first issues and different releases, and I never got my stride of trying to talk about stuff on Dev, but I've always wanted to have a place where other folks can also share tips and tricks on open source. So like I am so ready to set up an open source forum, so that way we can centralize information. Centralized information sounds like opposite of what you've been talking about, but basically decentralized information in a centralized place.
Oh
Um,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I mean, the centralization of this stuff is important. Like Dev exists because the centralization of knowledge helps a lot of people, and um, people come up with good ideas because of other ideas. And community is
yeah,
so important with this whole thing. And a certain centralization is really important. And our philosophy is just like it only kind of goes so far before it becomes like not the be all end all. And the fact that like if you want to really like see your curative vision forward with open source, like you could certainly like use Dev in certain ways, but then you're just really like playing to our algorithm.
yeah,
Like, I mean, I'm on TikTok. I see people just like literally like everyone knows the algorithm. The algorithm is just part of the life, and it's you as someone who wants to like build community, like you don't necessarily need to do that like entirely on our terms. It can be more of a collaborative relationship through open
yeah,
source software. And there's a place for the open source organization to exist on Dev because there's this like beacon of information. There's a lot of breadth. Like it's a town square. It's not like the representative of one space only ever needs to talk to itself. There's a reason to like put stuff out into the universe, but there's a lot of context where you're going to have more success if everyone who's part of open source is bought in. They know the context. They know this post is going to go to this space, but you still get to leverage the asynchronous communication style, all the moderation functionality, even all of the like really extensible codable parts of Dev. So if you go to dev.to/codeland, it's an example. This is like last year's Codeland conference,
yeah,
so it's a little less active than like the day of. But nothing on this page is built into forum or dev per se. But it's like a codable page that exists within the ecosystem. So there's a lot you kind of get for free within the product, but it's also codable for spaces like this. So like this is I think our most interesting example of how we've used just the codable nature of forum for some stuff that works. And if you go to dev.to/she-coded, that's another one where like things we do within the community, we used to have to like hard code into Dev, and it would be like a whole like lead up. We'd have to make conversations and stuff, but we've been able to extract that, make things more like make new and interesting things we do, like a simpler process of actually just creating a page that's codable. And
yeah,
so it's been a good combination of like the abstract ability to create landing pages from scratch, but also like grounded in what you get from the community. So like this page obviously has data that needs to be accessed from the community, or else you wouldn't be seeing all this stuff here. But it's loaded via an API from within the site, and it's basically like tools for building more community on top of community. So like She Coded is this special thing that exists within the space, and Codeland, an online conference, which wasn't going to be an online conference last year when like at the start of the year.
Yeah.
And the like the love for having that whole thing having been just part of this ecosystem people are already part of, but it's really custom and special for the event. I'm definitely a believer in like the creativity you can express when you have a lot of good tooling and then like just a little bit of open-ended creativity in code, and we've been able to do that effectively. And the coolest thing is that anyone else can do things on these terms, and like this is all through the Pages API of a forum. And we don't even have this functionality yet. And I actually think the actual API for creating a page isn't public, or like you can only do it via like the dashboard right now. But I think as these things expand, and I think people are going to be able to create projects within GitHub that can then like sync up with a forum. So it's like you don't just get the functionality, you also get like your functionality, and you can do it on GitHub, and you can have it all work together, and it all lives on your domain. So it really is your space. And I just feel like the more we give this functionality away, the more it's going to be paid back with creativity.
We have a couple minutes, so any parting words for folks who want to get involved or want to check out some of the stuff y'all are shipping?
Yeah, I'd just say like, besides what's available and what you can follow, maybe sign up for dev, and then forem.dev as well to kind of get a view into what we're doing. I'd just say like be there, be willing to be creative with us, think really long term, like solve problems pragmatically. We're going to want to solve for, a little bit of like the usability burden of having to maintain different accounts on different profiles. Like, we love the idea that there's this privacy layer, that we don't control it as a central authority, but we also are probably going to want to have like a version of sign up with forum itself, like eventually. And but that's not built yet. So I kind of feel like we're not even ready to wanting to have too many sprawling conversations with the whole community. But just, if you're listening to this, there's opportunities to be thoughtful and to propose ideas. And like, we're always gonna listen to this. And if you post on forem.dev, it's gonna hit the home feed, like other people can riff off of it. There's a lot of opportunity to be creative and to like just think about what we can all do together with this form factor.
Excellent. Well, Ben, thanks so much for the time. And folks, we'll see you in the next, and happy hacking.